Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. I hope you're taking care of yourself, getting a lot of things done. I'm still on cloud nine from visiting you guys over in LA. I had a blast. I had such a warm welcome from Yolanda and the team, Denise, those leaders of LAUSD and beyond, family members, community members. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to all of you guys for such a great time. And if you guys missed that, you just really missed a phenomenal gathering. And I highly recommend you do what you can to join us in such a wonderful work that's taking place over in Los Angeles, California. Now, with that said, I'm going to go right into my announcements. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, and it's hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and you can also find it on Spotify. So look for his channel. Thank you so much, Dr. Matthew Joseph, for a wonderful opportunity to join you. In addition, you can find it on my social media outlets. My social media channels and handles are as follows. So Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. You can also find it on Threads and Blue Sky. Okay. You can also check out the website, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. Some upcoming events that I have. I just told you guys about the Black Kids Love Math Summit, which was fabulous, which, by the way, they have another one in November. So get on board. But some of the upcoming conferences that I'm excited to be a part of. We have a virtual math conference. So many rock stars are speaking at it coming up. I believe it's in September. We also have the NCSM, NCTM conferences. We have the Making Math Moments conference. And we have, like I just mentioned, the Black Kids Love Math Summit in November in California. So look out for those opportunities. And of course, I love to share, just all the cool things coming up with you guys. And thank you so much for all the love and the support as we're doing this great work together. Also, please check out the Grit Mini Workshop. You're starting out the new year. Maybe you're wanting, a fresh touch of grit. So go ahead and check that out. That's on the Grassroots Workshops website. Thank you, Robert, and your team for that opportunity. Also, check out Grit Academy. I will be accepting students all year. So don't hesitate to send anyone our way so we can help you guys out. Now, if you're having problems with closing the achievement gap in your school, in your district, and you're having classroom management issues, or if your students aren't motivated to do their work, you can join me on this podcast. And we talk about different subjects that, will help you to have a better result for your school year. I also wanted to remind you guys of the Grit calendars. Please use those starting up the school year. And also I wanted to remind you of Grit weeks for you teachers that are trying to figure out a theme for your class or how to keep kids motivated. You've got Growth Mindset Monday, Resilience Tuesday, Self-Efficacy Wednesday, Time Management Thursday, and Gritty Friday. Use those. And if you need more support, I'm here to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out. So now I want to talk to you guys today about starting off a gritty school year. It is that time, guys. It is time. People are doing their school shopping. Students are getting their haircuts. They're buying their Nikes and Jordans and Crocs and whatever else that is a fad right now that is in season. And, parents are buying notebooks. Walmart, I think, put them all for like 45 cents or something like that. I don't know. It's a cool time and we're excited, and we're starting out the gritty school year. And I want to say a gritty school year because I think this is our year, guys, to make sure that we start strong and finish even stronger. And how do we do that? I want to talk with you about some things that I was able to find and give you just some tips and just share my heart with you. Okay. So starting out the school year, first things first, get to know your students' teachers. So, students are coming to you from different walks of life. Not everybody's going to walk in with a brand new pair of Jordans. Not everybody's going to walk in with a new haircut or a new outfit. Okay. The economy is going through its times. Parents are, doing what they can, but just expect that not everybody's going to be, you know, um, in great spirits, ready to come back to school. Some kids are going to be so excited to see their friends. Some kids, no, not so much, right? So you have every child in the room. You've got kids that are moving from out of state to your classroom, students moving from out of the country to your classroom. And so just be mindful of this. Please keep an open heart and be empathetic as you're connecting with these children. Next, speak to every parent. Okay. How to do that. Okay. So whether you send out not just an email and not just a newsletter that's digital, see if you can put something in the backpack of your student or in the folders or just with your student, because some parents don't have access. Some students are staying with their grandmom or their granddad, and so maybe they don't know how to access your online stuff. Or maybe some parents are traveling and they just have so much on their plate that they don't really have time. So whatever you do what you can to send it out. And maybe you can even send it out with like on your in your school's website. If there's like a main landing page, maybe there's something you can work out with your school, your school leaders, administrations, and things like that. Another tip for you, I would say, is to connect with the community, especially if you're a new teacher. Maybe you can write letters to your local grocery stores, your local barbershops, things like that, just letting them know, hello, glad to be in town, glad to work with you guys, teaching in this area, teaching this grade level. Would love to partner with you. We would love donations, or we would love to celebrate the work that you do in the community. Maybe you guys could come in, as community members and leaders, and come in as, speakers for our students to motivate them. There's so many different things that you could do to connect with those in the community. So do not drop the ball on those opportunities. There are so many voices, even diverse voices out there that are waiting to be in front of your children, to talk with them about success and hope and life and another chance, how to be resilient, how to be gritty, how to, build a business, whatever, how to pay it forward. So just take advantage of those opportunities and know that they're there for you. Next, I would say know the data. So when I say this, I mean you're going to get a roster, you'll get your students coming before you. Know how your students are performing, know how they're learning. This is not a tool to use to judge them and to make things hard for them, but it's more so a tool to help you to be a better educator and to really meet the needs of those learners. Because at the end of the day, when the end of the school year happens and you get those data points, you get that data back, it really does reflect on you as an educator. So I'm talking right now specifically to teachers. If you are getting those new students and you have not yet looked at the roster to see how they scored on tests or how their history has been academic wise, I think that it would be a benefit to you to start getting on top of that so that you understand, like, what are the pain points of your students, where are they, struggling, and how can you fill in the gap. I also want to say a disclaimer on that. This is not a tool to use to begin building a school to prison pipeline. So if you do start digging, sometimes you will see the disciplinary like the disciplined data of your students, how many referrals they've gotten, other issues. I would say be thankful for that information, that it's there, but do not rely solely on that, and do not make that a go-to where that's like the main thing you're looking at for your kid, because you can easily paint them in a negative lens. I'll never forget a student that I had, and I'm so thankful he was in my class. He came to my class and he said, "Hey, miss," and see, I hadn't looked at any discipline. I only looked at test scores, academics, to see, how the student was in math in general. And but I remember this kid came to me and he's like, "Hey, miss, yeah, my name's so-and-so. Don't you know who I am? I'm the baddest kid in school, and I'm in your class." And he said it in front of all his peers. And I remembered looking at this young man and being like, okay, gotcha. And I knew in my mind he was going to be one of my best students. I knew we're going to have a great bond because I just knew. I knew. that, kids that claim, oh, they've had such a hard, time with other teachers in the past, like those are the ones I was like, yes, give them to me, because I knew it was just a matter of time. We were going to turn it around. But I say that because I was able to keep an open mind with this child, because I did not go digging into his disciplinary situations with other leaders. Now, I will say, if you're an administrator, sometimes that's hard to do because that's all you deal with is discipline. So you have a jaded view already of kids because they're coming to you with 42 suspensions, or, they're coming to you with all this stuff. And so it can cause a bias and it can cause a jaded effect. So you also have to guard your heart, administrators and principals, when it comes down to certain students. And I would say too, if there is an issue with students, then consider some type of behavior plan, consider some type of disciplinary system, some type of point system, some type of PBIS incentivized plan that you could put together in your school so that you guys can help those kids early on. At the end of the day, don't you want to see them succeed? Of course we do, right? So maybe be intentional and be forward thinking about putting together the right team to service that student on all levels. Now, this leads me to my next thing about establishing norms for success. So if you are getting started, of course, I would highly recommend having classroom rules and procedures. Now, rules are usually your absolutes, no ultimatums. Those are your rules. This is how you keep sanity in your class. Procedures are practices that you're establishing to allow instruction and order to flow. What I find is that some teachers will have rules and procedures, but they treat procedures as rules. And then it leads to a bunch of chaos with discipline, referrals, because a kid broke a procedure. And so this is a whole like PD discussion for another day. So I can't really get into the difference on this podcast, but I want to say, you are on the right track, teachers, if you have rules and procedures. I would say, for instance, a rule could be raise your hand before talking. A procedure is when talking to your neighbor, speak at a whisper. Does that make sense? Students shouldn't be getting written up because they're breaking procedures. They should be reminded of what your procedures are so that they can respect them and then follow through with them, if that makes sense. All right. Now, I would also say when you're having classroom rules, it causes anxiety if you have more than 5+ rules. Like, it's ridiculous. Now, procedures, you can have a bunch of procedures. I'd say maybe 10 procedures to start. But rules, I would say try to have no more than like 5 rules. Listen, Harry Wong wrote a book, First Days of School, 100 First Days of School, something like that. Go get it, read it, something. I think every teacher needs to have that. I mean, he wrote that years ago, but it still works. Everything he said works. Okay. Even teachers, when you are interacting with your students and you're trying to be nice, there is a fine line between being so nice that kids push you over and then being like drill sergeant evil. There's a fine line. I'll tell you, when I first started school every year, I always started as a drill sergeant. There was no smiles. No, I laid down the law. That was it. And I let them know it was no nonsense. I gave them the syllabus. They had homework the first day, get the syllabus signed. The syllabus went from my earlier days of teaching, a huge packet of like 20 pages front and back stapled, to now maybe a page front and back. Of course, that takes time and wisdom, and you know what to keep in there, what to take out. Oh my gosh. Oh man, I think of the things I wish I could like join a panel and talk about some of the mistakes I've made my first years of teaching. Teachers, if you're thinking about doing a strike system, please don't. I had a strike system, y'all. Oh my goodness. And if a kid talked 1 ounce, or if they did anything. Strike one, strike two, strike three, go. Like it was just. I sent so many kids to the principal's office. I had no idea what I was doing those first few years of school. Sorry, I laugh thinking about that was such a hot mess. I wish somebody would have stopped me. They did, obviously, but so I say this because there's always room for growth, room for improvement. But if you have a strike system, please scratch it. Please scratch it. I can help you with other systems, I promise. I would recommend doing a point system, a money system, a ticket system, a PBIS school-wide system, something for incentives and to make it fun as students are learning and growing in your class. All right. Another thing about rules and procedures is procedures should be retaught, repeat until eventually they're mastered by everyone in the class. It should be a safe place. Your class should feel like a safe place. It should not feel like a jail or like just cold. Your class should be warm and inviting. And your rules and procedures, and even teachers, when you're going over this, be mindful of your tone of voice, that you're not sounding like a monster, right? But that kids know that you believe in them, even on the first day of school. All right. So those are some tips that I have for you guys that I wanted to share regarding, how we can start off a gritty school year. So now I want to share with you guys my screen, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I was able to find about some tips for starting back to school. So I found this chick here. And so she's talking to us about her tips.
Start the year off on the right foot. So let's go ahead and dive in to my top 10 back to school tips for teachers. So my first tip is to start with a clean, fresh slate. So this is in regards to anyone and everyone that you come in contact with. So first of all, any colleagues that you may have worked with last year, if you did teach last year, sometimes there can be drama in schools and, it's really, really silly, but it is true and it does happen. And so
she said
procedures from day one. Now that doesn't mean to throw them all at the kids on the first day at one time, because that can be very, very overwhelming for students.
So she's repeating, of course, some cool things about rules and procedures, but she also talked about starting with a fresh, clean slate. I like that. Yeah. Leave last year's drama in last year, right? All right, let's keep watching her to see what else she has to say. And I'm trying to respect her so that copyright stuff doesn't freak out. So let's go back to her video.
Especially if they are younger. So what I mean by that is, get to know your kids first on the first few days of school. However, if something comes up on the first day, such as sharpening a pencil or lining up, you need to go ahead and teach that procedure right then, so that all of this grades, it should still be a very loving and inviting environment for your kids. However, one of the things that I like to do during the first week or
so now she's talking about teaching expectations.
So of school is to teach the students the rules and or expectations. So a lot of schools have school expectations, which need to be taught. And then you also need to teach your own personal classroom rules and expectations.
Excellent. Okay, next. Her next thing says, make students feel comfortable. Let's listen.
Butterfly chairs and rugs. Also be sure to greet your kids every day, whether that's just saying good morning so-and-so or giving them a high five. If they like hugs, go ahead and give them a hug.
Okay, so she's saying to greet the kids, say hello, good morning. I want to say something on that too. Whenever you are greeting kids, don't be fake. They can pick up on it like this. If you don't like Johnny or Sarah or whatever, and the vibe is off, I would say be nice, be cordial, but don't be fake. Do your best to find that sweet spot in yourself to be nice and loving, but don't be fake. Because if you're fake, it makes it worse, and just it's plastic. Kids want nothing to do with it. So keep that in mind as you're connecting with students. Let's keep going. I'm going to skip over some of her. She says, have a system for everything, develop a relationship with students and families, set aside time to clean up and grade. Let's go back to set up a time to clean and grade.
Specific time to get done what you need to get done at the end of the school day, whether that is to grade papers or clean up your classroom. You need to set aside even 15 minutes a day just to get that done, because if not, your papers will build up like mine did. So take this tip very seriously, because it is so easy to start drowning in papers if you don't do this.
So teachers, I like that she's saying this, but I want to also just hook you guys up with a concept of how to grade efficiently. Okay. Work smart, don't work hard. So what do I mean? So a student, you give them 30 problems to do. Okay. Usually that consists of about 3 or 4 sections, but you have mainly 2 sections that can kind of show you that kids know what they're talking about. Usually the 4th section, maybe the 2nd or 3rd section. So instead of grading every single thing, pick 2 random ones. Don't tell the kids. Tell the kids to show their work. And then when they come in, if you assign numbers 2 through 30 even, okay, then say, okay, guys, I'm grading number 6 and number 18 today. Get your papers out, put them on the desk, and you go through and spot grade like that. And then you give them credit for doing their homework. I think that works. And I think it's realistic. What could you do with the other questions? Take the other questions and go over them with the kids in class during bell work. So bell work, maybe instead of doing 3 or 4 problems for bell work, maybe do 1 problem for bell work, and then do maybe 3 or 4 homework problems with students in class with them, right? So that they understand where they went right or where they went wrong in the homework, and then transition it into the lesson. That way you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and you're realistic about time. Now, if I was to rewind us back to 15 years ago where we had more time and more options, go ahead and grade everything. But because time is at such a slither, teachers, I would highly recommend, can you switch out some of the bell work problems for homework time to allow students to go over some of the homework that they were supposed to do the night before, okay? So that you can say, not only did I spot grade 2 of them on the spot, I also went over 3 or 4 problems on the board with the students. So now I've got, and make sure it's different range of problems, right? So now I have a better feel that the kids knew what they were doing, or I need to reteach it or whatever, okay? I hope that makes sense. Now, that was cool what that chick was talking about. That makes me now want to transition and talk about more things that we can do to prepare students for the first day of school. So I was able to find this. This is from Scholastic. 7 tips to prepare for the first days of school. Oh, look at the baby. Okay, so this says for parents now, whether your child is just beginning kindergarten or starting a new grade as a returning student, there's a lot to be done to prepare for the year ahead, including checking in about their fears, anxieties, and concerns. Yes, parents. Yes, we're throwing them into the system, but they still have fears, anxieties, concerns. We need to make sure that we know what's going on with our kids. Okay. As summer winds down, it's natural for students to experience nervousness. After all, your child is entering a structured group setting after months away. Some children will accept the change with joy, while others might need more hand-holding to acclimate. So teach kids how to open up with books about feelings to share together as a family. So it says children enter the school year with different goals and social emotional aptitudes. Okay. Teachers know this, and they strive to foster a strong relationship with each student from the moment they enter into a classroom community. O'Connor encourages teachers or parents, to reach out to their child's teacher before the first days of school with questions or concerns. Since parents know their child best, this communication sets everyone up for a successful year ahead. Back to school season will always be accompanied by a certain amount of nervous excitement or anxiety, but as a parent, you can minimize the fear of unknown by being positive. So here's some tips. 1, visit the classroom before the first day, okay? If they let you, okay? Because there's open house, so you might want to go to open house. Next, part 2, read books about starting school. So if you're starting with the little one, yes, look into this. Stories with characters your child can relate to, especially those with characters attending to the first day of kindergarten, are useful for relieving first day jitters and providing a boost of confidence where they feel needed. Okay. 3, talk to your child about their feelings about school, friends, teachers, and new activities. When discussing back to school, you might gauge your child's thoughts about the classroom. Ask them what they are looking forward to and what they're interested in learning, along with any concerns they might have. Some students might be concerned or have worries about being bullied. Okay, so discuss that with your child. There's a book, Sophia Sanchez's You Are Enough. Okay. Next tip, set intentions with your child for the first or for the school year ahead. Since children are still learning the concept of time, set a word each month. To reflect their back to school experience, September words might include friendship, perseverance, or kindness. Okay. Tip number 6, gather the supplies they need for a successful school year. You and your child can pick out the new books or rediscover beloved favorites during this time as well. Titles don't necessarily have to be about school. And 7, encourage your child to pursue a passion project this year. Gauge your child's interest at the end of summer to see how curiosity has evolved and what's new. Ask them what topic they really want to learn about in school, the school year ahead. So that's pretty cool. Again, this is 7 tips to prepare for the first days of school. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And so that was really cool. Just some cool tips that I wanted to share with you guys about the first days of school. And I hope that you guys are able to look at it. I also wanted to pull up a blog that I was able to write for you guys on this topic as well, where I'm talking to you about tips for first days of school, just kind of in general. And it kind of goes with what I already talked about earlier today when I first started the podcast. And so I want to talk about how to do those tips with grit. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll talk about how we can get gritty. So here's my wonderful website. Let's get gritty. 5 grit-powered tips for starting off school right. Okay. So, of course, get to know your students. Okay. Every student comes with a unique story. Taking time to understand their learning styles, goals, and experiences shows them that they matter. This is where growth mindset comes alive, when we believe that every student can improve and grow, no matter their starting points. So grit tip here, use icebreakers, interest surveys, or one-on-one chats to learn about each student. Okay, personal connections inspire engagement and persistence. Next, tip 2, speak to every parent or guardian. Strong homeschool partnership builds trust and sets the tone for collaboration. When parents feel seen and heard, they're more likely to support and partner with you throughout the year. So your grit tip, make it a goal to connect with every family within the first 2 weeks with a positive phone call, email, or message. This builds your own self-efficacy, and it shows families that you are invested in their child. Tip 3, connect with the community. Students are more resilient when they see how learning connects to the real world. Whether it's inviting local leaders to speak, right, or community connections, it brings relevance and deepens your teaching. So my grit tip for you, tap into the power of local culture and voices. Okay. Next, know the data. Data is not just numbers, right? It helps you make intentional decisions. Grit tip, set aside weekly time to review your data. Make small, consistent adjustments. Empower students to track their own progress and celebrate wins big or small. And tip 5, establish norms for success. Your classroom culture will shape how students respond to challenges. Create norms that emphasize perseverance, responsibility, and mutual respect. So my grit tip, let students help you define what success looks like in your space. When your expectations are clear and co-created, students feel ownership, and that will build resilience and self-efficacy. So my final thought to all of you listening, this school year, let's lead with grit. Let's build classrooms where students feel empowered to grow, bounce back, and believe in themselves. When we model grit as educators, we equip students with the tools they need to thrive in every area of life. So I hope that blesses you guys. Feel free to contact me. You see my information right here. My email is india.white.123@gmail.com. Website, www.india-white.com. You can follow me on Twitter and throughout. And of course, I'm also here to service you guys with PDs and things like that, grit trainings and beyond. So with that said, guys, thanks so much for letting me share this. This has been a wonderful time talking about how we can start off a gritty school year. Make sure you're visiting my website that I just mentioned. Make sure that you catch me at some of these upcoming events. Can't wait to see you guys at the NCTM and CSM. Follow me on social media, okay? And check out the website again. And with that said, guys, stay gritty. See ya.